You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game. And we're going to be doing lots of politics and public policy this evening because we have as our guest Congressman Danny Davis, and he knows politics and he knows public policy. Spent 11 years as an alderman in the city of Chicago, and then 6 years as a member of Cook County Board, and he's been the congressman from the 7th Congressional District, Democrat, of course, for the last 13 years. And he's got a contest, Democratic primary going on in the 7th Congressional District. You've got 4 opponents, right? Challengers?
Yep, I think 4 of them, which should be interesting.
Yeah, and Alderman Dixon is running and challenging you, and Darlena Williams-Burnett, the Deputy Cook County Recorder of Deeds, is challenging you. Jim Ascot is challenging you. Desmond Clemens is challenging you. So they're coming after you.
Well, I know them all and have known them for a long time. I've known Desmond longer than I've known any of them. And he is a delightful gentleman. He is an activist. He is a person with disabilities. He's been involved a long time.
It's almost like a friendly campaign, but let's cut right to the chase because, you know, Alderman Dixon, you know what she says? She says you don't really want to be a congressman because she says, look, you thought about becoming a Cook County Board president in 2006 when John Stroger resigned, and you thought about becoming the U.S. Senator.
As a matter of fact, I was offered the United States Senate seat.
You were offered it?
Concretely, unequivocally.
By Rod Blagojevich?
Without a doubt, by Rod Blagojevich.
And did he tell you it was golden and ask you what you were going to do
No,
for that?
he just offered it to me, and, you know, I appreciate it. And my mother always told us to look a gift horse in the mouth. And
which means?
If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
And what was the problem with that if Rod had given you that
Well,
nomination?
the problem was simply the governor himself, that whoever took the position would have inherited a certain amount of taint, which would have made it difficult, I think, to win re-election. And since I was not interested in retiring at that time.
But if there had not been that taint, if you thought that taint wouldn't have been insurmountable, you would have taken that nomination in a heartbeat, right?
Oh, I would have taken it.
You would love to be U.S. Senator from Illinois, right?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it. I mean, had Pat Quinn been governor and offered it to me, then I would have jumped at the opportunity.
And if you had thought you could win for Cook County Board President, you filed this last time around, and then a week later you pulled your nomination and you filed for re-election. You decided to do that. But if you thought you could win for Cook County Board President, the Democratic primary and then the general election, you would have done that in a heartbeat, right?
No, not really, because I did think I could win, and I still think I could have won. But I also figured and decided that it would be such an acrimonious campaign until I'd rather not be engaged in it. Plus, I also wanted to foster a certain amount of what I call unity among candidates whose thought processes are more closely aligned than another candidate. And so for those reasons, I decided not to run. But I always thought that I could win. And looking at the latest poll, I think unequivocally and without a doubt that I could have won.
But so Alderman Dixon comes back and says, if he didn't have to have that acrimony, you would have preferred to be Cook County Board President. And she says, you just view this as a consolation being a congressman from the 7th Congressional District. What do you say to Alderman Dixon about that?
Well, Alderman Dixon has some interesting views. I say that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, that you have to think deep because shallow drinking intoxicates the brain. And so if I had to make some decisions based upon Alderman Dixon's allegations and thoughts, I'm sure I wouldn't be a member of Congress.
So you really want this seat. You want to be this. You want to be the representative from the
Let me
South.
tell you, there isn't.
You're not bored. You've been there 13 years, and you want to do it another.
Oh,
two?
I'm not bored at all. As a matter of fact, I am a member of the Ways and Means Committee, which is thought by some to be the most powerful committee and influential committee.
Why? What does it do?
Congress.
What's the power that you
Well,
have?
it basically has the tax write-in authority in the House.
Does that help the 7th Congressional District?
Oh, it helps the 7th Congressional District enormously. I mean,
how?
Last week I had 2 community health centers that got $14 million out of the economic stimulus money. I am co-chairman of the Health Center Caucus because prior to going to Congress, I worked in health care and used to be president of the National Association of Community Health Centers. Health centers got $600 million from President Obama last week. Community health centers across the country.
These are to serve people who don't have health insurance?
These are to serve people who don't have health insurance, to serve people who are low and moderate income, to serve communities that are medically underserved, and to serve people who in many instances do not have access to primary health care.
But doesn't Todd Strozier, president of the Cook County Board, says that's what the Cook County Health Bureau is about. If they're doing their job, why do you need these additional things?
Well, there's a big difference between being, say, head of the Cook County Health Board and bringing money to health centers all across America. The problem that the Cook
But I mean,
County,
in the 7th, did these entities that got money in the 7th Congressional District, do these entities supplement what the Cook County Health Bureau does?
what they really do is prevent the Bureau of Health Services from having to do some of what they do. And it also prevents the taxpayers of Cook County from having to pay for those services because the individuals now can go to the Lawndale Reformed Health Center and can go to the PCC Wellness Center where these monies now have gone to.
Did Alderman Dixon thank you? She lives in Lawndale, doesn't she? Did she thank you for getting that money from Lawndale?
I'm not even sure Alderman Dixon know that the money's there.
You haven't called her and tell her? You wouldn't let her know?
I wouldn't.
She's a 24th Ward Alderman, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
You would respect that, right?
I would respect it, but that's not the best utilization of my time. I've got other things that I would need to be doing, and it's public information, so I would assume that she knows.
Talking about Todd Strozier, you support Todd Strozier and his increase in the sales tax that has just been repealed?
Well, I didn't have to take a position on that.
I know, but take a position now.
During the time that I was considering being a candidate, you will note that I never said that the taxes were not needed.
I know.
Now, my position
I know
relative,
you said that. I don't know.
Yeah, my position relative to the taxes is that taxpayers will pay taxes, but they want to make absolutely certain that they're getting the most mileage out of their tax dollars, that they're not being wasted, that they're not being cronied off, that they're not going to people who are not doing the work.
Well, we hear they don't have that feeling. We hear the people in Cook County are upset. That's why Todd, in the recent poll, I think he came in third, 14%. Dorothy Brown up there at 29%. Toni Preckwinkle, a colleague of you, well, she maybe once was a colleague from the city council. She had 20%. And then Terry O'Brien at 11%. So it looks like Todd Strozier's in trouble. Looks like the people in Cook County don't think he's doing the job.
Oh, I don't have any problem with that thinking. Not only is Todd in trouble in terms of people not thinking that he did a good job, but quite frankly, Todd Strozier was wounded when he became president of the Cook County Board, and that's something that nobody likes
because the way in which he got that through the ward bosses. Because you were competing, you would have thought the ward bosses should have gone with you instead of Todd Strozier.
Oh, unequivocally and without a doubt. I mean, why not? I mean, I've got a great reputation, not just a good reputation. I've been an elected official now for 30 years, and I must say that something George Collins used to say is that the politician Confucius says that he who tooteth not his own horn will find that same shall not be tooted. And so I think by any estimation, I see you had an almanac there, I think that most people who have evaluated my years of public involvement would say that I've done a good job.
So are you going to be supporting Dorothy Brown or Tony Preckwinkle and over Todd Stroger in this race for Cook County Board?
Well, we have not made our decision just yet in terms of, I have a group and we will vote and decide, and that vote is
It's getting close.
imminent.
It's December 13th. Make some news. You can tell us
It's
now.
imminent. That vote is
Which way are you
imminent.
leaning? Which way are you leaning?
It's imminent. I can tell you that it's not leaning towards Todd Stroger.
Okay. And when is that decision going to be made?
Well, we're going to actually make it later on today.
All right. Well, you could tell us now because this show won't air until Tuesday.
But I can't make the decision. It's a group decision.
Oh, who else is making the decision?
Oh, the other members of our political organization.
What's the name of that organization?
It's the 7th Congressional District Political Action Committee. The reason I've been successful.
But you're the
getting
leader
elected,
in it. You're the force, right?
I am the leader.
You're the force?
I am the coordinator. I'm the processor.
What you say goes, right?
But I'm not the decision maker. No, that would be more tyrannical than I
well, then
operate.
give us your best guess. Is it Dorothy Brown or is it Tony Preckwinkle?
Well, it's difficult to say. I've got to listen.
Close between those two?
People have been calling me all day saying, I want you to know so and so and so. Here's what we think. Here's what we think. And quite frankly, that's how I get elected to public office.
All right, let's go over to health care. And you voted in support of the Obama health care plan, the Obama, Pelosi, Reid, but that was quite different. How long ago was that vote?
Well, let me tell you, not only did I vote in favor of it, and while it's Obama's plan, I was intimately involved in writing it. And so,
it had a public option, and you wanted that public option in
I
there.
wanted the public option. Plus, there are several features of the plan that have Danny Davis's name or influence or whatever.
What's the most important influence you had in that plan?
I think was helping
one.
to make sure that we're going to triple under the House bill money for community health centers across the country, which currently serve 19 million low and moderate income people. And under our plan in 5 years, they would be serving 60 million.
But now, as you know, the proposal coming out from the Senate is that people who are at small companies, people who don't have health insurance, and who are in the age group 55 to 64, they could buy into Medicare. And it would probably be subsidized, and if they didn't do that, they might have an alternative to buy in to a private entity that's somehow going to be offered by the government, health care, for that age group. And what people are saying, that's going to suck revenue out of Medicare. It's going to complicate the problems because right now Medicare is not, compensating hospitals and doctors at a competitive rate. It's going to make Medicare worse, the critics say.
Well, that's what
do
they
you
say.
And what do you say?
I don't
you
say
think
that
it's a
at
good
all.
idea?
As a matter of fact, there are individuals who are not sensitive to the fact that they have health insurance and other people do not. And I think what we're really saying is that don't try and deny other people an opportunity to have health care because you already have it. Some of the individuals who are talking about Medicare have been on Medicare for years. And so it's like those that's got plenty got a lock on the door, trying to keep anybody else from getting in to get any.
Is it going to be trouble? Is it going to be difficult to finance Medicare at the same rate if you admit a large number of other people who you're subsidizing from a different age group?
I don't think so, because I think what we're going to do is we're going to find some real solutions to our economic problems, that rather than experiencing the tremendous recession that we've been under, we're going to see some of our stimulus activity begin to catch hold and work.
You supported that. You supported the $800 billion stimulus.
I supported it because I am confident that money to an economy is like blood to the body.
Yeah, but
if all of it leaves, you're going to die.
But that's almost a year ago. And what's the unemployment rate in the 7th Congressional District now? 25%?
Yeah, it
Maybe
is
more?
that. It is that.
It's not any better a year later,
But let me just tell you.
Is it any better after the stimulus of February
I
of
don't
2009?
think it's that much better, but the 7th Congressional District, of course, is one of the most fascinating pieces of geography in the world. I mean, we have some of the wealthiest people in the world.
What's that district? Tell me, what's that district?
Well, we start downtown at Lake Michigan and includes all of the Loop, We include the near north side.
Cabrini Green, what
Green.
used to be, is it still Cabrini Green?
No longer, well, it's the Cabrini area. But then we also have the central city, that is west side communities that were devastated by the riots. We go all the way out to the end of Cook County. We've got suburban communities, upscale suburbs.
You got the west side of Chicago.
West side.
Austin, right?
And near south side.
But Austin
Chicago.
and Lawndale.
Austin, Lawndale.
Oak Park. Maywood,
Bellwood, Broadview. Hillside.
River Forest.
Forest Park. We've got all of that. And we go as far south as 5700 South.
Includes Bronzeville.
Includes Bronzeville.
Includes Chinatown.
Chinatown, Greektown.
But it's mostly, the great bulk of it's the west side. There is some south side in it, right?
Yeah, but it's majority west side.
You're a west side guy, right?
I'm a west side guy.
29th Ward or 24th Ward? Where'd you come from?
I lived in all of them. When I first came to Chicago, I lived in the 24th Ward, eventually
Alderman Dixon's ward.
Alderman Dixon's ward.
You ever talk to Alderman Dixon?
I do.
What does she say?
Guess what?
What do you talk about?
I know more about Alderman Dixon's ward probably and the people there than anybody alive. I don't think there's a person in the world who knows as much about the people.
What did she run on? Do you remember what she ran on in the 24th Ward?
Well, she ran on change, on getting people involved, and she was fortunate. She won by 100+ votes.
She says she ran on doing something about crime, violence, and drugs, right?
Well, yeah.
You heard that expression?
I've heard that, but let me tell you, crime, drugs, and violence are very difficult to get rid of in a community where virtually all of the jobs left. There used to be 10,000 people who worked every day right where my office is.
But what she would say
located.
is, what's happened in the last 13 years? What have you done to bring jobs back to the 7th Congressional District? Not just the 24th Ward, but the 7th Congressional District.
Better question would be, what have I not done to bring jobs back?
Well, give me a few of the most important things you've done to bring jobs back.
I just mentioned the fact that we had 2 community health centers who just received last week $14 million.
Is that healthcare jobs? Is that what you're telling me?
Those are healthcare jobs. Let me tell you, healthcare is the biggest employer in the 7th Congressional District.
How many jobs is that going to mean?
How many will that mean? I don't know how many that will mean.
10, 20,
but not only
100,
that,
1,000?
But let me stop there. We have the largest number of hospitals in the country. We have more hospital beds in the 7th Congressional District than any other congressional district in America. We train doctors. For example, the University of Illinois trains more African American doctors than anybody in the country, with the exception of Howard and Meharry. All of those things relate to money and jobs. Like some people grow wheat, some people grow soybeans. We grow doctors, we grow nurses.
Well, if things are going so well, why is the unemployment rate 20%?
It's 20% not only in North
Maybe it's
Lawndale,
25%. I mean, I don't even
but
know.
it's that same thing all over the country in different pockets of poverty.
Well, no, the average though in the country is 11%.
Yeah, but I mean,
excuse me, it's 10%. In Illinois, it's 11%.
Average. But in Detroit, in Philadelphia, in St. Louis, in Cleveland, all the big urban areas, essentially where low and moderate income people live, unemployment is sky high. What
unifies those areas? What's the major problem they have? If there's one major problem that they have,
the major problem that they have is that there was a shift when we started building expressways and freeways, and people started moving away, and businesses started moving away, and which big urban centers lost the political clout that they had had. There used to be a time when 8 or 10 of the big cities in America could get together and pass anything they wanted to pass, get anything done as people moved. And as the cities lost population, those abilities changed. And so it's not just the 7th District of Illinois. It's the 7th District of Baltimore.
But education's a major problem, isn't it?
Big problem.
And people
Big need.
in the Chicago public schools, which is a good part, but not all of your district, but a number of the people who live in your district live in Chicago. And as you know, I think it's something like only 8 of the kids who graduate from the Chicago public schools go on to finish college, 4-year program in 6 years. And only about half of the kids even graduate. So shouldn't there be more choice? Shouldn't there be more charter schools in the 7th Congressional District?
Sure that charter
You don't favor charter schools?
I favor charter schools.
Barack Obama favors charter schools.
Well, that's Barack Obama. Barack Obama, I think I know as much about education as Barack Obama does.
You think?
As a matter of fact, I think I may know more. So,
but he favors charter schools and you don't?
No. It's not that I don't favor charter schools. What I favor is making sure that good public education is available to every child in the United States
But 13
of America.
years as congressman, it hasn't happened.
Well, it hasn't happened in Mississippi, hasn't happened in Alabama.
But let's focus on the 7th.
Well, but you can't.
Your voters want to know about the 7th. They don't want to know about Mississippi
Yes, they
and
do.
Alabama.
My voters do. Maybe some other voters don't.
You don't think they want to focus on the 7th?
I think my voters want to know about America and about what it is that we are rationally, reasonably doing
but get back to charter
try
schools.
and help make America the country that it ought to be.
Look, I hear there are waiting lists that go long and long for charter schools. If people want more charter schools, they want to get into more charter schools, and those people in your district want that, why do you say no?
There are some people who want that. There are other people
Well,
who
the people who want it, why don't
well,
we give
let me
them?
tell you what I want.
If the people want to stay in the public schools, let them stay.
Well,
but the ones who want to go to a, it's
the
still a public
charter
school.
schools-
Charter school is a public
the kind
school.
of charter school that
It's a
we're
public
talking.
school.
Well, there's a big difference in charter schools. The charter schools that the Chicago public school system operate are public schools. Now there are charter schools in other places that come as a result of the creation of school districts and new school districts that now become an alternative to charter schools. Charter schools in Chicago is just one system of operating public schools that
But
we
it's
have.
different. There's more
different.
autonomy, there's more responsiveness to parents,
But
there's less bureaucracy.
The studies suggest that charter schools in many instances does not do any better than schools that are not called.
I haven't, the studies I see
well,
show
I've
them
seen them, let me
outperforming.
tell you. I've seen them, I studied them.
You look what the Heartland Institute puts out. They put out gobs of publications that show that charter schools
One
are doing
school.
better. No, not one school.
Yeah, 2 or 3
Carolyn
schools.
Hawksby, you know.
Let me tell you.
Carolyn Hawksby is an economist. She was at Harvard. She studied charter schools. She studied people who, you know, that often they're admitted by lottery. So you take from the same individuals from the same group. Some get into a charter school, some went to the traditional public school. Same group, the ones in the charter school outperformed. Academic
Take
study.
any public school, put the same resources in, have the same kind of
That's what they've done.
credentialing that's
Same
required.
resources, same people, charter
Then-
schools.
And so what's so
Outperformed.
chartered about it?
Well, somehow it's doing better.
I mean, the Board of Education runs them all in Chicago.
What about school vouchers? Take the money. You know, we're spending $15,000 per kid per year in the Chicago public schools.
No, we're not.
Give that. Yeah, we are. $6 billion is
Yeah.
the budget. Do you dispute that? The budget's $6 billion.
well, let me tell you.
400,000 students. You divide 400,000 into $6 billion, you get 15,000 per kid per year.
Then talk to Mayor Daley and the people who run the schools.
But give those
I'd
kids
love to run
give them a voucher.
Talk
Let
to
your.
Ernie
Do you want
Duncan,
to have
the
vouchers?
Secretary of Education.
Would you give?
Talk to the people who run the schools. All I do is get money
Okay. But
into Chicago for them to use.
But would you like to have the federal government encourage vouchers so parents who want to leave
No,
the
I'm
public
not
schools can do
interested
that?
in extending any more vouchers.
You don't get to give them choice.
I'm interested
You don't
in
believe in
making
parental choice.
sure that our schools are equipped to educate all of the children. And so if the failure of the Chicago public schools is so bad, then talk to the people who've been running it. I've never run them.
But you can encourage
Talk
things.
to Ernie Duncan.
Yeah,
Talk to Mayor
You
Daley.
can encourage
talk
as a
to the
congressman.
school
You can
board.
encourage these things.
Yeah, you can encourage, but you don't run the Chicago public
You run
schools.
DCs, and DC there's a voucher program. Did you vote as a congressman for vouchers in
No.
DC? All right. That was a direct vote. You had control over that, and you said no.
Yeah.
You said no to those
Because
parents who want to have
the
choice.
few people who were going to have vouchers were only a small portion of the kids who go to DC schools.
And it only cost a small portion?
And there are
So
some
all right.
terrible problems.
We got to go on. Glass-Steagall. You get criticism of that because you voted in favor of repealing Glass-Steagall. Alderman Dixon says that compounded and caused some of the economic crisis in the country. What do you say to Alderman Dixon?
Wow, I think Alderman Dixon wouldn't even know what that is, or wouldn't know how to evaluate it.
She said it's the.
but
you know what Glass-Steagall is. It has a separation of commercial banking from investment banking.
Yeah.
And the repeal of that said those folks could interact. They could
well,
do
let me
both.
just tell you about the banking system. I disagree with much.
That's
of
what she said. Did she get that right?
With the banking system, but some of that, all of that, has to do with the state of the economy. The biggest impact on our economy, one, we've been spending an enormous amount of money on war and warlike activity. We've had trade policies
Afghanistan, do you support that, the 30,000 more troops in Afghanistan? You oppose that. You're going to tell President Obama.
Well, it's not so much about
you tell President Obama you disagree with him.
Well, I certainly don't agree 100% with the approach that President Obama has taken with that.
Would you put any more troops into Afghanistan?
One thing that I did agree with and I really liked was the fact that President Obama says we're going to go in here, we're going to have a surge, and we're going to start pulling out at a time certain.
You like that?
And I hope that that does in fact work, but I'm not enthralled with the fact that we are sending 30,000 additional
Would you have recommended to him any additional troops?
You got to replace troops, yes.
But no additional troops. You
and
wouldn't increase the number that are there. You would replace those, but not increase the number.
Well, let me just tell you, it's possible that President Obama may have known something that I don't know. I mean, the reality is that there are briefings, that there's confidential information, there's information he may have had privy to, and so I give him some benefit of the doubt, and I still don't agree that there ought to be 30,000.
You supported that $700 billion bailout, right?
Yep.
Of the financial sector.
I sure did.
You don't think it just gave stuff to Wall Street without giving something to Main Street?
No, what I think it gave something to Wall Street far too much. I don't think that it had as many restrictions on Wall Street as there should have been. But I was convinced that the state of the economy was such that we needed to have some infusion of cash to put in people's hands so that they can spend this money and make it circulate. It has not circulated the way I would have wanted it to, and the way I think we should have demanded.
Back to foreign policy. Did you take money for a trip that was financed by the Tamil Tigers?
Take money?
Sri Lanka. You know that, isn't that known as a Tamil Tiger is known as a terrorist group, right?
I went to Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, okay.
And
was that paid for by the Tamil Tigers?
I don't know if it was or not. There have been some allegations that some of it may have been put into the trip, but the group that paid for the trip technically were not Tamil Tigers. But let me just tell you, I just had a hearing on what's happening to the Tamil Tigers day before yesterday that the Human Rights Commission put on as a result of a resolution that I put forth. The Tamil Tigers is a group that, while they were on terrorist lists and that kind of thing, I don't think they were any more terrorists than the government.
On that note, we're going to continue to speak as the credits roll, but I very much want to thank Congressman Danny Davis.
All right.
Running for re-election in the 7th Congressional District. He's been a good sport. A lot of people won't come here. He's an incumbent, he's got challengers, and you deserve a lot of credit for coming here because Mark Kirk, as you know, in the 10th Congressional District, we couldn't get him when he was running as an incumbent. But we got Danny Davis, and we appreciate that. You're a good sport, and you're participating in democracy.
And I'll be re-elected on February 2nd.
Reverend Moon, did you crown Reverend Moon?
No, I didn't crown anybody.
But you brought the crown to Reverend Moon.
No, I brought it.